Mission Control Podcast, episode 103, over 100. I mean, that's when it started to feel real for me, once we hit 100. So we've got a very special guest, Vince Perri, Elite Resolutions, Commercial Claims Advocate. What's up, bro?
What's up, Mike? Thanks for having me on, man.
Dude, thanks for joining. Listen, you're a part of something historic here. We've never gone live with the show, and we are streaming live on YouTube. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel extremely special, deep down in my heart. And my heart is warm. I feel so special to be a part of not only past 100 episodes, but also your first live. I mean, like this is it. This is what I've dreamed of my whole life, and I'm very proud. I want to thank my mom. I want to thank my wife. I want to thank my kids for bringing me here to this special place.
Yeah, I mean, are you blushing a little bit? Oh,
Yeah,
look at
yeah,
you.
yeah. Totally.
Special shout out to the team at Roofer. Obviously, our audience is roofers. So if you need instant roof quotes, clean and pristine proposals, CRM needs, I mean, they got a lot going on, and that's the gang, right? So there will be a link down in the description. Be sure to check them out. So public adjusting, what's the state of affairs in the realm of public adjusting right now in 2025? You're in Tampa. Talk to me.
Well, first of all, shout out to Roofer as well. We use them for all of our roof measurements and all of our roof reports that we need to put together our estimates. So yeah, love those guys. What's the state of the industry? The public adjusting industry itself, or just the overall claims industry?
Let's go with both.
Yeah, it's not easy, man. It's not easy out in these streets. I will tell you that. Especially here in Florida. So you're up in Buffalo. So I don't work claims in New York. New York is actually the only state that I do not have reciprocity. So I mean, we're licensed in California, Texas, Illinois, Ohio, Georgia, North Carolina, like all kinds of places, Colorado. But New York is not, just because really I haven't gotten around to actually taking the exam. So the state of the industry in Florida in particular, and a little bit along the rest of the country, and probably California is going to get like that too, is quite frankly, it's not easy between constant regulations that are put forth by whatever governmental entities per state that we have. And then obviously just the lobbying that's going on between those people and the actual insurance companies. And then the insurance companies really going full court press on really revising and updating their policies that are not consumer friendly. It makes it a little bit difficult to get coverage. And then the last thing I would say is, not only are you walking into a lot of claims that may have ACV on roofs, which is obviously a huge deal, but then just limits on potentially damage by wind, separate limits for damage by hail, separate limits for just damage by water damage inside of your house. It becomes very difficult. But then on top of that, to add more fuel to the fire, is just overall, man, like even when you walk into a claim and there's coverage and there's a storm date and it's legit and we know we have the evidence and it all needs to be replaced, and here is the roofer's quote, here is the wind date, here is the engineer, like you've got everything set up. It's like they've got these, it seems to me like they've got these what's the word I'm looking for, guidelines in-house across the country, across every insurance company, that just states, yeah, no, we're not going to pay that. We're going to deny every single claim. We're going to repair every single roof. We're going to pay under deductible. We're going to pay just for a handful of shingles, and make them continue to prove that it needs to be replaced, and make them continue to fight, and make them do a brittle test, or repair a shingle repair test, and make them go through the hoops, through the alternative dispute resolution process to try to ultimately get this claim paid. It's like they're just like trying us, you know? That's where we're at. So sorry for the bad news, but that's the state of the industry. Insurance claims, man.
I mean, I would think that it's going to continue to get more challenging. Like you said, with the resources that, insurance companies have, I would imagine with the lobbying and their influence in maybe policies being created legislatively, I can't imagine it getting easier, especially for homeowners and roofing contractors to move and get them to give us our money. It's so great. You pay so much for insurance, and then the minute that you need it, it's a big fucking problem, right? And then your premium goes up or they drop you, right?
It's the old story. Yeah, I mean, it's been like that for a while, right? But it's just only gotten worse. While I've got the platform, I do have to tell you the conversation that I've been having with a lot of roofers is do not even think for a second to go all in 100% of your business model being insurance claims. Like you're not
Yeah.
going to last. You're not going to make it. And I'll tell you because it's the roofing contractors that I work with that will just get a claim and just refer it to me, right? Like they're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, we see storm damage here, take care of it," or "Hey, they underpaid here, take care of the supplement." And quite honestly, like what I see is it's garbage. So because I know how the insurance company is going to react, what they send me a lot of times is just it's just garbage. Like, I could see that yes, there's some hail hits. Yes, there's some damage. Well, let's separate the old damage from the new damage. But man, Mike, if the fucking roof is not blown off, right? Or if there's not a bunch of torn shingles, like pitch it as a retail job. Like don't if all we're doing is arguing lifted shingles, creased shingles, is that a hail hit? Is that not a hail hit? Are we going to Weather Underground or whatever app, Hail Trace, and just picking a date? Like
Yeah.
those days, Mike, are over. So if your audience is strictly restoration for storm and claims, I apologize, Mike, for coming on. I didn't warn you that I would make that announcement, but it's just the truth, bro. Like go in and just say, hey, look, you might have a claim here, but let me be honest with you. Here's how it's going to go. It's going to be a fight. We may end up having to use an attorney. It could last a year. Yes, the insurance company will most likely, hopefully, ultimately pay for your roof and will only charge you a deductible, but it could be a painstaking process. On the
Yeah.
flip side, I can charge you, it'll cost this much for us to replace it. We can get you a, what's it called when you pay, well, a financing plan where you could pay it over the next year or 2 years with no interest down or short interest or whatever, and you don't have the headache of having to deal with the painstaking process of an insurance claim.
Yeah, that's good. I always encourage people sell the monthly payment. Like you go to buy a truck, they're not beating you over the head that it's $78,000. They're telling you it's $649 a month. There's a reason it works. And the guy, a guy like that's sitting at his house and he's got to buy a $20,000 roof and he doesn't have the means to. He might not tell you that he needs finance because we have fucking egos, and sometimes it's hard for us to separate that and say we need help. So just offer to him. And worst case scenario, they're like, "What if I just pay cash or I pay it all at once?" And that's a much better conversation. It's everything to gain, nothing to lose.
I think it's
No, I
also
couldn't agree more with you because obviously we work with a lot of roofing contractors, and we've noticed that the claims process is getting more challenging at like every phase of it, right? Working insurance claims, I don't want to say is easier, but it requires less attention to detail and tedious bullshit that a lot of storm contractors aren't using to pay attention to. So, for instance, a legitimate sales process. So, getting somebody to give you $1,000, let's say, for something that's worth $30,000 is fucking fish in a barrel, right? It's not hard. Now, how you get from point A to point B, yes. Is there nuance? Are there challenges? Is there specific knowledge that you must possess in order to get that claim filed, approved, start to finish, supplemented? Absolutely. But again, you're getting somebody something of $30,000 of value for $1,000, $3,000. It's like, hey, I could sell anything at a 90% discount. And I've worked with folks in the past where they're predominantly storm, and we get them leads and like these leads fucking suck. It's like, no, your sales process sucks. Just because you had somebody that sold $3 million in claims does not mean that they're qualified to take somebody who needs to be convinced to cut a check for $25,000 and get them to the finish line. Like there has to be a process in place. And a lot of the times it's a different person than the person that's handling claims. And that's not good, bad, or indifference. It just is what it is. So my question to you is if you're a roofer and you're accustomed to just, if I need more leads, I'll knock more doors. And we're going to get claims. We're going to chase, areas of impact as far as weather is concerned. How do I set myself up for the coming years to pivot into a 70-30 storm retail model or 50-50 or 30-70? Like, what does that look like so that I can set myself, my company, my team, and my customers up for success?
Yeah, but I'm so happy that you mentioned that because I almost interrupted you and I was going to tell you that's not sales. Like going door to door and offering people that they're only going to pay deductible on a $30,000 roof. Yeah, that's not sales. The true sales is you actually trying to ultimately convince the homeowner that they need a new roof and to pay full value for that roof out of pocket or financing or whatever it is. To answer your question, I mean, I don't really know because I'm not a not a roofing contractor. I've never owned a roofing company, but I mean, just like with anything else in regards to sales, it's like you said, like you need to have a process in place. Where you're going to get your leads would be just like anything else. Look, man, you and I have managed to basically put together a way of you and I have managed to obviously put together a social media presence,
Mhm.
right? And I'm sure you would agree with me that first things first is we need to take advantage of the social media platform. No matter what business we're in, it doesn't matter. And I think the conversation we had off air was about marketing, and I think we would probably agree that I don't care whether you're selling roofs or you're selling apples on the street corner. Like you still need to start with that social media presence and building yourself up and building your personal brand first, in my opinion, so that you can ultimately start that whole sort of marketing engine on what you're going to do. So, if you're going to now be a roofing company that's going to make that shift into really trying to get into the retail market as opposed to the insurance market, well, that's your avatar, right? We call it your ideal customer avatar. That's who you are now talking to. You're talking to that roofing owner or that homeowner who maybe has experienced a leak just like before, or has had their roof for a while, or their association is telling them that they need to replace it. Like you need to, again, I'm not a roofing contractor, so I don't know what that person would look like, but with the help of yourself and ChatGPT or whatever it is, you need to build out who that person looks like. Are they married, single, with children, or whatever? And once you start building your brand and you start actually talking on social media and doing all those things, well, guess what? You're talking to them
Right.
and you're building that social media presence, that marketing presence. Obviously, I'm sure you would agree with me. Get yourself a free guide, a lead magnet, something that you can give away on your website, on a landing page, on your social media to start attracting those leads, and then get on your ass and start selling. Whether it's through phone call, direct messaging through your social media account, or anybody that actually downloads your lead magnet, start reaching out to those people, start conversations, and start selling. And then there's no reason why within a few months or a year you start actually building back these roofs. And if it takes door knocking too, then it takes door knocking. To answer your question on that end, I would just obviously we'd have to really convert the offer so that it's not so much heavy into insurance and more into here's the benefits that we could offer if you don't do insurance and you actually pay for it out of pocket. Isn't it better too though for a roofing contractor to not have to deal with the insurance claims process? I can't imagine that being a good business model with how long it takes to get paid by the insurance.
Yeah, cash flow, especially for younger companies, seems like it becomes an issue when you've got claims piling up pending.
So my door knockers, I would tell them, okay, a storm just hit. Go. All right, you're gonna go. You're gonna attack because obviously these people need new roofs anyway. And just, I think you need to teach your salespeople to pitch to offer both and to lean towards the financing option. Am I wrong?
Right. I mean, I would agree, and I know some people that are very successful that do it that way.
Really? Do they actually go to a storm? And my thinking is, do they actually go to a storm, knock on the door, and actually try to persuade them away from the claims process?
Yeah, it's really getting them to sell the job directly to the customer. If it so happens that the customer goes through insurance and they handle it that way, that's on them. But as far as like as a company removing themselves from getting into the claims process and the insurance company said this, like this is our service, this is what we offer, this is why it's of value to you, this is why you should consider us. A lot of that comes back to trust, right? So for the roofers watching this, homeowners don't trust you. I've said it a million fucking times. I'll say it a million more. They don't trust you. Same way as roofers, you don't trust marketing agencies. I'm uniquely qualified to empathize. I feel your pain right here. Now, we have to do things to make them trust us. And it starts well before the sale. So you think about brand. Like, what are people thinking of your company when you're not in the room, before they come out and you're having a conversation at the table? And there's such neglect, uh, typically with a lot of roofing contractors. Not all. Some of you are doing a great job on this, and for those of you that aren't, like it's an opportunity to improve. If it's not attributable to dollar in, dollar out, they don't want to do it, right? If I don't know that if I'm spending 150 bucks, I'm getting a lead, I don't want to do it. like the delayed gratification of building a brand, the impact is incredible. It compounds like drastically, but we have to be okay with saying like, hey, this year, if my entire budget's $100,000, I'm going to throw 30,000 of that into brand related activities, right? And whatever that is. And you can't go in. This is the biggest mistake I see for people that, pivot into investing in a brand. They say on the front end, I know it's going to take time and I'm okay not being able to attribute dollars to it year one. Then like month 6, 7 rolls around, right? And whatever they're doing, right? If it's Billboard, the guy from Lamar hits them up and they're like, this doesn't fucking work. I ain't doing it. Or if they're doing local sponsorships, like I'm not re-upping because it hasn't made an impact. I had a customer recently. They went from, in the last 4 years, from like 250K in revenue. It was their first year just getting started. They're going to do right around 20 million this year. And they're like, how do we get better net profits? Like, let's talk about net profits, not what you make, it's what you take. I'm like, I couldn't agree more. And we started talking about peeling back. They do some sponsorships for a football team, baseball team. They do things like park benches, radio, TV. And I mean, it's helped make them a household name and a dominant force in their market. And it's like, why are we going to peel that back? Well, I don't think it's working. Well, what makes you say that? 4 years ago, look where we were, look where we are now. And this has been a variable in the equation that I believe strongly has made a positive impact for you. Again, we're never going to be able to look at it like a Google ad campaign and say, hey, you got 79 leads from this campaign or this campaign or this campaign. And that's okay. It's working. Like, you're about to do 20 million, like your net's good. It's all good. So, I guess my caution to folks that aren't doing brand is start focusing on brand, because especially with restoration contractors, that is absolutely imperative if you're going to pivot into having a stronger presence in retail. Aside from investing into a sales process and having salespeople, like having that brand to get people to trust us in advance of them calling us puts you so far ahead of other contractors, especially that aren't adapting in that way. And the results will be very, very good. You'll be very happy you did it. You just got to
Yeah.
be patient. It takes a little time.
Yeah, and let me interrupt there. I mean, one thing I learned early on as I started to really start to go to conferences and go to different places, people started to recognize me and like, oh, you're the guy on YouTube and this and that. You're that public adjuster. I realized two things with brand awareness is brand awareness and social media awareness equals power. It really does give you a platform where people now want to work with you, whether it's direct customers or other professionals in your industry. And it also gives you options. Okay? Because you're starting to meet now so many different people, people are starting to recognize you. I realize that like people want to now all of a sudden latch on to you. Okay, whether that be sometimes good or sometimes bad, but they want to find a way to latch onto the brand that you are now building and they want to know more. And it gives you options to where, like, I mean, even you and I, right? Like, I mean, I have my public adjusting firm, but now I have a consulting firm. Now I have a basically quasi marketing firm that would not have really happened if I didn't start even just building my own personal brand on YouTube the way I did. Um, and then to circle back to what you were talking about, the consistency and the persistence, and after a few months, it's just like this is not working. I'll give you a perfect example right there where I know right from there where I know where this is gonna end up. I started doing lives. Like I never did lives, okay? And I decided, and I've done a little research on it, and I know that if you're gonna do a live, you want to sort of like let people know when you're going to do it. You don't just want to just randomly go live. You want to get consistent with it. So I started about 4 weeks ago, going live on Sundays. So Sunday, 10 a.m. I marketed a little bit. I'm gonna go live. Mike, I still don't know what it is. I don't really know what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I just know that it's going to turn into something. I've got like 3 or 4 people that are watching. I had actually 8 or 9 people watch last Sunday. I just know from experience that if I keep doing it every single Sunday, not only am I going to figure out what the format's going to be and what I'm going to be talking about, but that 3 or 4, 8 or 9 in a year or 2 years of consistency and persistence of doing it every Sunday at 10 a.m., it's going to turn into something. I just
Yeah,
know it.
absolutely.
But you got
And
to stick to it.
you can't get discouraged, man. When I first started shooting video content a couple years ago, I was stuttering, sweating, like it was bad. A lot of different takes. I didn't understand how editing works. So every time, my first video was like 12 minutes long. I reshot this fucking thing, Vince, 50 times. I was sitting in a basement with a goddamn iPhone on a tripod, like, Mike, you're an idiot. Like, why can't you just do this? It just hits a little different when that recording light goes on, right? Um, and it's fine, like, first of all, if you feel like you're gonna make an ass of yourself, nobody's gonna see your first shit anyway, so it doesn't even matter.
Exactly. That's the way I look
Now,
at the live. That's the way I look at the live.
and then on the other side of it, I listened to, I think it was Hermosi was having a podcast, and he said, look, he's like, I got 13 people watching my video, which feels like I should be depressed about it. Like, it's not a lot of people, but it's all perspective, right? If you were sitting there and you had 13 people in a room listening to what you were saying, hanging on to that, that would feel like a huge win. Like, you just did something great. It's okay. It'll continue to grow. People will start to share it. You'll say something that resonates with somebody, it'll resonate with the algorithm. Now all of a sudden you got 14 people, 24 people. I mean, we're not
I had
huge on YouTube. We have 2,500 subscribers, but we've got, I think, 638 hours of watch time in the last 38 days.
Yep.
And it's not a bunch of spam bullshit followers. Like, we're legitimately getting people that are our target market listening to what we're saying. And that makes me feel good. And I think that at some point down the road, and it's happened in the past, they'll be like, I want to work with you because I've listened to a lot of your shit and it's really good. And I'm like, oh,
which is
shucks.
which is all that matters, right? Trying to target market. That you put 13 people in a room, you have a crowd.
Yeah.
And obviously the landscape is pretty. There's just a lot now, right? I mean, it's not what it used to be, say 10 years ago. When I started 5 years ago, it wasn't even the YouTube channel. I mean, a podcast. I feel like are just like a ton, but it doesn't matter. Resonate with just a few. That's
Right.
really all you are. And if they're in your target market, if they actually satisfy your ideal customer avatar of who you're looking for, then that's really all that matters. Nothing else matters. I've got two guys that they have my Sunday live on their calendar to make sure that they watch every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern. It's crazy. It's just wild.
There you go. Bang, bang.
Yeah, yeah.
So when did you start Elite Resolutions and when did you start shooting content?
So, I mean, I've always been paid through Elite Resolutions. I've been a public adjuster for 15 years, but the first 10 or 11 years, I did work under another firm.
Okay.
I didn't plan on it, but the guy that I was working for just ended up being like a real true big brother mentor to me. So, and my split was good. And I was like, you know what? I don't need to go anywhere. But then towards the end there, so about 5 years ago, I had an aha moment where well, I first did not want to do public adjusting anymore, and I was traveling a lot with my wife. And my plan was to create a YouTube travel vlog, which I did, make it work and travel on YouTube if you want to check it out. It's me and my wife going to about 15, 16 different countries. Um, and then I started reading. So I was like, how can I turn this YouTube channel into actual money so that I don't have to be a public adjuster anymore? And then I start reading Gary Vee's Crushing It. Great book. I recommend it to anybody. And he talks about giving it away, giving it away, giving it away. Help people through Facebook groups. That's how you get your name out. This and that. And the whole time in my head, I'm thinking like photography and stuff like that. And I don't know, just in the middle of the book, it just went. Why am I thinking about photography? I get this whole public adjusting thing. I don't necessarily at the time enjoy as much, fighting with the insurance companies and settling the claim. I said, but through a YouTube channel and through sort of becoming an expert in the industry, I could maybe write a book, come up with a course, which will allow me to travel. And then it's just like, it was an aha moment. I'm like, I know how to edit. Because from the travel vlog, I learned how to edit, I learned how to shoot, I learned composition, I learned color grading, I learned sound quality. Like I learned all that stuff because I did my own YouTube channel. I learned how to create thumbnails. I learned how to, make sure that you're sort of SEO compliant with the description. So I learned all that through the travel vlog. And I was like, dude, I could just do this with the YouTube channel. Now, the only thing is I wasn't a huge fan of editing because of the amount of time that it took. So I told myself,
Because it sucks.
I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to shoot and I'm going to tell the audience that this is raw and authentic, but really deep down, I don't want to have to edit the whole thing.
Sure.
So if you look at the if you look at the first few, like anything else, right? I'm sure your first were pretty rough looking. And yeah, I mean, I think I got like toilet paper in like the background of one shot, and like some other. It's like weird. Just did it. Just I didn't set it up correctly, but It was every Wednesday, Content Wednesday. And to this day, in 5 years, Mike, we haven't missed a week.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And
And
just
that
look, yeah.
and that started so Elite started 5 years ago on your own ish,
So,
and the
yeah, so I went on my
video
own probably about 4 years ago because I
okay.
was doing the YouTube channel for a while. The owner of Key Biscayne Claim Adjusters, shout out to Rich. Richard. He's the one who was owner there. He was doing another business as well, so he wasn't
Okay.
like fully into the public adjusting. And I'm like, you know what, Rich, maybe it's time. And yeah, we cried it out, hugged it out, like, yeah, we're good, let's go. So I went out on my own because what I have, and I don't think I'm sure you've noticed too, like, it doesn't really it didn't really translate into more leads and more claims in a way. Like what it also helps with a lot is recruitment. When
Yeah.
when people see you, and I can imagine in the roofing industry, I mean, man, you want to attract sales guys. If you like are a quote unquote roofing influencer giving away amazing information, every sales kid is going to want to come work for you.
Yeah.
which which then, like you said, how the people are like, well, I don't see these billboards really turning into leads. I always thought it was a weird thing because you're right. Like my what happened was is my overall gross revenue just continued to go up,
Yeah.
and I didn't really know exactly where it was coming from. To this day, I don't. It's just branding, man. I don't. It's hard to explain, right? Is it just me, or is it hard to explain?
No,
It's
I
hard to
mean,
quantify.
it's hard to quantify. Yeah, it's but the fact of the matter is the more people that see you, the more people that associate you with being, an industry authority, the more people are going to want to work for you, more people want to buy from you, do business with you, right? So, it's just tough when it doesn't fit into a spreadsheet. A lot of the times all people see is the investment, right? And whether that's, hey, I'm spending 10 hours a week doing this, I'm spending $10,000 a month doing this, whatever that looks like as far as what it's costing, it's hard when there's not something tangible being delivered. It's like us when we're doing SEO for people. Like I tell people, whether you're hiring us or anyone else, just don't expect a return in the first year. You'll feel a lot
Right.
better about what's going on. Now, as an agency, anyone you partner with should be able to show you that we're on the right track. And there's leading KPIs that you could look at to show the improvement, but the improvement's not going to be a ton of leads year one. But people, it's not the same as buying a roof. Like if I pay a roofing contract to get a roof, it's like, okay, it's $25,000, half now, half when you're finished. I give you the 12.5. When I give you the other 12.5, there's a fucking roof on my house. I can see it. I know it's there, right? It's tangible. And it's just not the case with a lot of branding. And some of the more traditional medias, they've tried to do things like website traffic and things like that. Like here's your spots where they air, here's your website traffic right after, and try to demonstrate and make it somewhat quantifiable. But you really can't bring into with a certain level of confidence that like, hey, if I spend X on branding, I'm going to get Y, Z. But yeah, social media is a great opportunity for it, and it's local Facebook groups. It's connecting and building relationships with people. If you're gonna do ads, you could do the hey, we need 19 unique homeowners for this unique roofing system we've got. I hate it. I don't tell people to do like lead acquisition on Facebook. It works when there's a huge storm, but I'm like, hey, build out brand related video for the areas that you really want to have a long term stronghold in. Like, get people to trust you, and think about when I tell people about creating content. Yes, you could use ChatGPT, asking for 100 things. If I'm a roofing contractor in X, Y, and Z, and I do this much revenue, I'm trying to grow to this. What type of content should I shoot? But also, just the best, I guess, litmus test for a content schedule is going to be talk to your salespeople. Why are people deciding to buy from you? Double down on that type of content. Why are people deciding not to buy from you? Double down on that type of content, right? Like, how are you handling those objections, and how do we get past like illustrating value to them far before they have the question, so that the objections already overcome through the content strategy? So when we come in the home again, they trust us more. They have less to push back on, and your salesperson's job just got a lot easier.
Mike, I have a question for you. Actually, we were trying to figure out: is there a way to target this without ads? Is there a way to target your local market through your social media? Like, can you do that?
I guess you could use hashtags.
Would that be the way? Because in my mastermind group, that was a question where they're getting like one of our 5 daily non-negotiables is to make sure that you are posting 3 times a day, and they're doing a fucking hell of a job. And
Yeah,
but they're also getting like they want to sign claims locally, right? And they
yeah.
have their ideal customer avatar. They're talking to roofers or they're talking to contractors, whoever it is that they're trying to attract. But they notice that they're attracting people throughout the whole country. And the one girl
Yeah,
was just
and
like, she's like, I don't really want to do that. I'm like, she's like, I'm okay with it, but that's not really my MO right now. Is there a way without ads to do that? I'm just curious.
yeah, so I mean, with just posting content, I guess the best thing that you could do if you're not already connected with those people and hope that the 2% of people Facebook shows it to is, the people that you're trying to reach. I would say, if you're shooting video content using like hashtag with a local city, right? Or like a local, like find what's trending local and do something related around that. Like I might fuck around, throw hashtag Bills Mafia because I know goddamn well people are going to be on the train this weekend and, get views that way, whatever. But I guess what I would say is like in that
Great
scenario, like
idea.
maybe we're posting 3 times a day for a general audience and building, whether it's locally and or nationally. I would look at some opportunities for strategic partnerships if I'm those people. Figure out what those companies are, figure out who's involved with those companies, do a couple Google searches, maybe connect on LinkedIn and try to bring them into our funnel that way. Or on Facebook so that now they're part of our organic audience and they start seeing our content, right? That would
Interesting.
probably be a better way to get a more streamlined access to that relationship. Is just kind of being a little bit outside the box methodical with
So on
it.
LinkedIn and Facebook, you can do it a little bit easier than say on Instagram.
Well, like, I mean, I guess if you find like, let's say you find 15 people, right, and they are ideal strategic partners for your company, whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, I would do all three. Like every opportunity that I have to connect with these people, I mean, outside of Snapchat, that would be weird. But like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn would be, I guess, the three strongholds that I would focus on connecting them with so that they have as many opportunities to see my brand as possible. I would probably lead in with like some sort of message that is not salesy, spammy.
Yeah,
Just like, hey, I noticed we both service X, Y, Z. I thought it would be great to connect. Like, let me know if you want to grab lunch sometime.
got it.
So that they don't feel like there's a fucking sale coming down the horizon. Because if people see value in what you're doing, eventually they'll want to partner with you, most likely, right? So we just got to get them the exposure to the stuff that we're doing. And that's a very passive way to bring them into that ecosystem without having to sell them. So that eventually, like, it gets to a point where it's like, hey, what do you guys do? You think you could help us with this? It's like, I mean, I guess. I
I like
guess I could do that for you.
I like the idea of the hashtags. I also like the idea. I remember when I first started on social media, is actually really going deep into searching and clicking on the actual hashtags, and then looking at all the different accounts and commenting on those accounts, and
Yep.
saying, hey, great content, really love what you're doing. Hey, that was really funny. And then that's also a good way to really start building it. And if you're looking at local stuff, that's also a good way to start drawing attention. I like that. I like that, Mike. Yeah, that's something that I'm probably going to start using myself and letting everybody know.
Thank you. I mean, there's so many different ways to skin the proverbial cat, right? So for instance, I'm looking for an executive assistant and I've made a
Of
LinkedIn
course
post.
you
So
are.
every LinkedIn post I make, it's fucking 6 views, right? 4 views, 10 views. This thing takes off. I get like 6,500 views, get a bunch of comments, DMs. I'm like, oh, this is great. I've never hired an executive assistant. Most jobs in my company I've done before, so I know what to expect, how to train, and I'm better equipped to hire than something I've never done before. So I'm like, I look at Dan Martell's EA playbook. If you're not following Dan, go follow him on Instagram. Message him EA if you're considering getting an executive assistant, and his playbook is fucking phenomenal. So I'm like, okay, I have like a framework of what I need. But then I was still thinking about it. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I want to make sure it's important to me, and I don't care what position I'm hiring for, that people that I bring into the company, I've done my job before they come in to make sure that they can hit the ground running. They're set up for success. They like their job, and they don't hate working here, right? So in this position, I'm like, their learning curve is going to be probably less steep than mine because me giving up control to certain things, and that's going to be challenging for me. So like one thing that I did outside the box was I connected with a bunch of EAs, not for the purpose of like soliciting them to come work for me, but I sent them messages like, hey, I'm hiring for this position. I've never done it before. I don't have the experience, and I would really value the opportunity to connect with you just to try to understand, what you're doing daily, what you love about your job, what things can make your job better from like whoever your leader is, so that I can make sure that the person that's coming in here is going to be best set for success and they're passionate, they love their job, etc. I got 2 people that were, set meetings with me. They were more than willing to help. And I think that'll do a lot for me and for whoever it is that comes into that position as far as really starting off on the right foot. And they were excited to do it too. 8 of them didn't reply, but the 2 that did were like, wow, the fact that you're associating value with this position the way that it truly needs to be because it's a meaningful position. Most people don't do that, et cetera, et cetera. So shout out to you too. You know who you are. You might not see this, but if you do, I appreciate you. I really do.
Nice.
But there's so many different, like, social media is so agile and robust. There's so many different ways that you can go about accomplishing whatever it is, whether it's building relationships, getting leads, getting perspective, and just meeting great people. I don't know. It's not just one
I
platform.
love the idea of the opens now too, right? I love the idea of reaching out to story views,
Yeah.
and comments and likes.
Yeah.
So not only like, I mean, honestly, that was kind of like a little bit game changing to me. It's not something I had ever really thought about. And when I tell people about it, they're just like, wow, okay, like that makes sense. It's a lot of work, right, to do those opens, but I mean, I just think it makes sense. The views on the story, it's like so true. If somebody's viewing your story, they got to be interested, one way or the other. And all you got to do is click that little face, a little drop down message, and just say, hey, thanks, man. Like, you like the content? Cool. Anything you got to say about it? All right, awesome. And then it could turn into a fucking sale.
Yeah. And, I guess doing what, I mean, I think coaching and mentorship is super important. And you said, I think it was with Rich, right? Like that helped you immensely in your journey to get where you were to where you are now. And I think that if you're going to engage in some type of coaching or mastermind or whatever that looks like to try to improve yourself, your business, et cetera, it's important to actually do some of the shit that is being talked about. And you might not get 100% of it done. And like, that's okay. But again, improve every day, right? If you can look at yourself at the end of the day and like, hey, I put my best foot forward today. And sometimes you'll win more than others. Sometimes it'll be you'll take L's across the board and it feels like shit. But as long as you know you've done what you can, on that day, like, I don't know, I go to sleep at night and it curbs my anxiety. Like my mind still runs 1,000 miles an hour before I go to sleep, but I'm like, you know what, you did your best. It's okay.
Yeah.
And so when I connected with you, so Vince and I, we were in a joint coaching group together, and I was going through the names that were in the group. There was like 600 of them, and he was one of the first ones I recognized. I'm like, oh, that's Vince. So I sent him a message, and he did the open. He's like, hey, thanks for connecting. Are you here for the content or right? And I was like, oh no, I was just connecting with you. We're in this group. He's like, oh, that's dope. I was like, I got a
Yeah.
podcast. We should shoot some content.
I
Look at
don't
us
think
now,
there's a
thriving.
lot. I don't think there's a lot of people in there that are in our industry. It doesn't seem like it unless I just haven't looked hard enough.
Yeah, I haven't seen a bunch. I think I saw one other person. It was a contractor out of like South Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I forget the name of it, but I connected with him. In the first meeting that I attended, I connected with like 15 people and then didn't after that. So shame on me. I should do better.
I got to do
Connect with
better at
all of them.
reaching out to people too. Well, they got rid of the direct message feature, so like you got to you got to find their Instagram and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I got to do a little bit more of that too. But it's great to connect with people too
We'll be
because
better together.
I mean, I think that's the beauty of the mastermind too, which is what I can't remember the author right now of Think and Grow Rich. There's a chapter called Mastermind, and it's really about bringing those like-minded individuals where when there's like something special that happens when you bring that sort of same experience and energy and drive and really same vision. All of it sort of comes together, and all these different ideas come about, and it's a really special thing. Like I see it with my mastermind, I see it with the one that we're a part of, which is a little bit more coaching, but you're still in a group of sort of like-minded individuals. And when you do that, it just sparks a lot more creativity. It also helps with a lot more support. You understand that people are sort of in the same position as you are. Whatever you're struggling with, it's nice to know that other people either are struggling with it or have already struggled with it and have gotten past it.
Yep.
So it's a definitely being a part of some kind of group, which I think preferably something that you're actually in common with. It could really fast track your growth and your development.
Yeah, I agree. Like that sense of community is huge, right? Because I mean, if you're running a business, whether it's all the
Oh, and
time,
you're by
sometimes, or just one
yourself.
time, you
You
felt
feel like
alone.
it.
You've definitely felt alone. You're like, holy fuck, man. Like just one thing after another. You're playing whack-a-mole, and every time you whack-a-mole, six more pops up. It's like, what the fuck? It's funny because yesterday I was sitting in the sauna, and that's usually where I have my moments of clarity. And I'm like, my brain fog is gone. I'm just like optimized, and I have a rolling content calendar that I have in my notes, right? And I just jot shit down. So I was thinking yesterday, like, what are some things I know now that I wish I knew 10 years ago, 15 years ago? And I guess when I started my business, especially, I kept falling into the trap that like once this happens,
Mhm.
then everything will be fill in the blank, happier, easier. I'll be more successful, like whatever the fuck it is that you want to fill in there. And I mean, it's just not the case, right? Like you got to be grateful for the shit that you've got and be grateful that you get to do these things. Quite honestly, right? There's 37 problems to be solved. That's fine. Like we've got some fires to put out. I'd rather that than freeze, right? Um, so tricking myself into that flagrant falsehood that once X happens, then Y, it's like, yeah, you got to get out of that mentality.
Yeah, for sure. I like the idea of setting just crazy, ridiculous, impossible goals, and then just sort of the person that you become and all of the other things that you accomplish on your way to those like crazy, ridiculous goals. Like one of mine is I want to have a Super Bowl commercial. Gary Vee talks
Mm,
about like there are no more eyes on a brand than during the Super Bowl.
right.
And it only costs like I don't know how many millions of dollars. I've actually broken it down on ChatGPT. I would need to have a gross annual income of over $300 million. So that's pretty crazy goal. I'm not even close, but we're gonna get there. So I've got. So what happens is where you start from there, and then you sort of backtrack your way to sort of today and what you're gonna do today, what you're gonna do this year. You all of a sudden like have all of this whole thing sort of laid out, and all these accomplishments that you want to achieve, and it all of a sudden sort of becomes possible. And
Yep.
just every day you're just trying to accomplish these things. And like so far this year, I mean, it's not even the end of January, and I think I just went too low, but like I'm halfway done with my 2025 goals. Like I'm gonna have to sit
Let's
down at the end
go.
of Q1 and like reestablish this because I'll probably be done with most of everything, which is pretty exciting. So
Fuck yeah.
we're on our way.
Yeah, my goal is for the Bills to win a Super Bowl. They better not fucking disappoint me or they're dead to me.
As a Dolphin fan, I'm ashamed to say that I'm rooting for the Bills just because I feel bad for them, and I've always enjoyed watching them, except for when they beat up on the Dolphins. God, we can't beat them, man. We cannot.
Is Tyreek out?
He's probably gonna be going. Yeah.
He's probably gonna be gone.
It's
Yeah.
awful. It's just hard. It's hard for me. It's hard.
You've been a committed fan. You said 15 years of season tickets.
Yeah, 15 years season ticket holder from about 2002 to about almost 2017 or so, and then I moved here. I moved to Tampa, so obviously no
Yeah.
more season tickets. And yeah, it was rough. One playoff game I was able to watch, and the only thing that I remember about that playoff game, it was Chad Pennington at quarterback, and we were playing against the Ravens, and I'm like, I had always great seats, and man, I'm watching with my cousin, and we used to really like break it down and watch it closely. And I remember he drops back to pass, and all I could see on the opposite side was fucking Ed Reed, and he's just eyeing him down the whole way. Mike, he comes across the field and he just fucking picks it, pick six to the house. And it was just like,
That's
if
tough.
I saw it from the stands, Chad, how did you not see it? Like, it was just crazy. It was just like me and my cousin were like, no, dude, he's coming. And that guy was so fun to watch, though, man. Ed Reed was like, and he just,
He's
yeah,
such
took
a
it to the
fucking ball
house.
hawk.
Ah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he was good. I'm glad the Ravens took an L last week. I don't know if you saw it, but Bills Mafia donated like 90K to Mark Andrews charity.
That poor guy. It wasn't the same guy that had the fumble, right? There were two different guys, no?
No, same guy.
The guy that fumbled earlier is the same guy that dropped the pass?
Yeah,
Dude, you got to feel bad for that guy, though.
he had a tough night. Listen like we talked about. Some days you're
Jeez.
gonna take a lot of L's, right? He took a lot of L's, and yeah, I just hope that
That's a
people.
rough one to get through, though, man. That's going to take some time. We might never see
I
him
hope the
again.
folks of Baltimore, just step into a lane of compassion for him because
We might never see that guy again. Like, he may never play football again.
yeah, it's I can't say I'm not happy that he dropped the ball because I'm very happy because
But
if
you
he
still
if
got to
he
feel
converts
bad for
that
the
and we're
guy.
tied, I almost guarantee we lose that game. So we'll take the dub, and
You still got to feel for him, though. Oof.
I feel really bad for him. Yeah,
I could tell.
yeah, so bad. Yeah, but shout out to the
I'm
Mafia
rooting
for
for you guys.
mobilizing and helping this guy out.
I'm over the Chiefs. I'm over it. Like I'm done. Let's go. I want the Bills to win. But like I said, like I told you before the thing, after the Bills win the Super Bowl, they can go fuck themselves.
And we'll gladly do it. Like, listen, I'll wear a fucking Jalen Waddle jersey next year. Root your boys on
There
if we
you
get a
go.
ring.
You got your Super Bowl. You're good. You guys have
Listen,
never
I'll
won,
say
right?
what's that?
You guys have never won.
Calm the fuck down, all right?
The four.
Yeah, we
Hey,
lost
listen.
four in a row. Yeah, Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no, I know. I
But here's
remember
what I'll
that
say,
when
and I want this to be known. We're 1-for-1 in AFC championships against the Chiefs when I've been there. One of my best core memories, I was like 6 years old. I was at the championship game with Joe Montana getting carted off, and we ended up taking them down. So, we're one and 0 rather, right? 1-for-1. So I'm going to the game. We're
nice.
gonna. I'm thinking something like 24-17 Buffalo.
Okay.
That's my score prediction. What's yours?
That means nothing. I'll watch the game. I'm not a predictions guy. Literally your prediction means nothing.
Listen, when it's 24-17, we can go back to this and be like, he was right. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
I guess.
yeah.
It's going to be cold, so I mean that sounds like a pretty good score. Sure, I'll go with
It's
24-17.
fantastic. You heard it here first, folks. Well, Vince, I appreciate you coming on, brother. We'll have to do this again soon. Thank you to all you tuning in. Couldn't do it and wouldn't do it without you. And a special thanks to Roofer again. Man, we love you. Great company. Hit the link in the comments. Go check them out. And we gone. Stopping.
Nice.
I